Hello, everybody. This is Haley from Lumina Foundation, and I'm joined on the phone by Joel Simon, who is Vice President for the Council for Adult and Experiential Learners. Joel and his colleague, Gabby, were supposed to present last week during our scheduled webinar, but we had some technical difficulties, so we've asked Joel to come back and redo this presentation for us this time. We'll put it up on the website. So with that, Joel, I'm going to turn it over to you with the caption. CAEL is going to be working directly with many of our communities. They have a lot of expertise on adult learners, prior learning assessment, veterans, business engagement, pathway development, all of those kinds of wonderful things, and they are truly a resource. So Joel, I'll turn it over to you, and we will get moving. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Haley, and thanks everybody for the opportunity to do this one more time, hopefully with fewer technical difficulties. So as Haley mentioned, my name is Joel Simon, and I am with the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning, and we're very much looking forward to working with the sites. And the way that we approach this on a location-specific basis is really to think about what are the realities on the ground as they may be different from place to place, and understanding the role of education and educational attainment within the context of where those economies are and where they're going. So I want to make sure that we're aligning the workforce development and education initiatives with the economic development strategies and the economic realities on the ground in each city today and in the future. Inevitably, that requires some sort of alignment and hopefully collaboration among the regional stakeholders. So it's not just inside of any single institution or even a single system, but recognizing that there's going to be a diversity of partners and making sure that they're all aligned with that strategic goal and keeping those community level objectives in mind and how the education system and partners sort of play into that. And we want to do our best to create efficiencies and leverage the value of the learning that's going on across the system and across all of its parts to support and spur economic growth and economic mobility and the opportunity for wealth creation among the participants and so forth. And so that takes a number of different forms when we work at the local level. And I'm going to ask Haley to go to the next slide, please. And here is sort of very broad categories of the ways in which we do this. Certainly planning, creating the strategies for where the interests and objectives of workforce development and economic development meet. Exploration, making sure that the careers that will result from higher levels of educational attainment are understood both by the schools as well as by the general population. Launching initiatives, Haley mentioned prior learning assessment, and I'll talk about that in greater detail in a couple of minutes. Zeroing in on particular populations, and so of course we'll talk about veterans as well as one opportunity to do that. And probably most importantly, facilitating across those range of stakeholders and the diversity of interest that will make the overall community successful. Not just in increasing the number of degrees, but in the resulting employment and wealth building and salary outcomes, et cetera. So next slide, please. Of course, I probably don't need to tell all of you this, but of course it's well documented that we do have a skills gap in this country, and recognizing that we need more folks with college degrees in order to meet the needs of our employers and to meet the needs of the new economy. Next slide, please. And the very positive impact of educational attainment based on, the impact of salaries and earnings opportunities as related to educational attainment. This is, of course, very high level and very general, but the bottom line is this is going to play out very differently depending on where you are in the country and what your realities as a community are. And so in the next couple of slides, I'll think about my home state, which is Illinois, and we think about what the economy used to look like. And so this is certainly one image. There's another one coming up. I can get Haley to click forward, right? So some old school economy images. I think there's one more in there as well. And so that's our past, right? And what we were as an economy, but recognizing that what we are growing into and becoming now as an economy is very different than that, certainly built on our history, but taking new forms and what it requires in terms of educational attainment. Not only the number of degrees, but also what degrees are needed to support all of that. And so we want to factor in all sorts of elements, certainly understanding the target sectors and the employers, what the wage impacts are, what are the skills associated with those employer needs, making sure your partners are lined up. All of those factors and others factor into what will hopefully be good decisions around where you invest in educational attainment, promotion of educational opportunities, et cetera. Next slide, please. And so what do we want out of this? And every stakeholder group certainly has its own objective. Of course, students want to make sure that their educational investment and their time investment is going to result in earnings and career outcomes. Employers want to know that what is being learned in school is relevant to them today and in the future. Communities want to make sure that when they're making big investments in learning, that the value of that learning stays in the community, that we don't have to send people out of town in order to make good on their educational attainment and their degrees and diplomas. And we want to make sure that institutions are experiencing that return on investment as well, that people who attend those institutions do indeed experience those positive outcomes. And so how we synthesize different bits of data can help to guide this. Next slide, please. And so as we better understand the occupations and the skills as they relate to the industries as they exist today and as they're evolving, and what is the degree play in there, right? Are we having the right degrees, and do those degrees contain the right kind of skills, knowledge, and capability that can support that overall economic development, industry growth, job growth, occupational growth, et cetera. And so one area that's been very important, I mentioned before, is mapping out careers. And I'll recommend that you visit a couple of our career sites. One, vividfuture.org, is one that we created for the telecom industry nationally. And bioohioworkforce.org is one that we created statewide for the bioscience industry in the state of Ohio, across the state of Ohio. And in each of those examples, you'll see opportunities to reveal the ranges of jobs and careers in the target industries, which may or may not be obvious to the general public, to the layperson, to the incoming student, and also what are the earnings potential for each of those jobs based on educational levels, and where they can go longer into the future. So it's not just about your next job, but about the career path, the career trajectory that you're on, and these kinds of career mapping projects help to elucidate those longer-term opportunities. And of course, there's going to be folks making transitions from other industries, and the ability to reveal how skills can transfer from industry to industry, whether that's directly from job to job or through some sort of educational experience. Can we apply what's been learned in one area to advance education that would then land them in a more stable or lucrative occupation? And so this is just a quick list of the industries where we have done career mapping. So we're pretty spread out. We've done these typically on a local or statewide level. The Vivid Future example is a national level example, and we've got a couple of those as well. But if the guidance, the advice that helps people decide what careers are viable and what they need to do in order to be qualified for those careers, this is a tool that makes a lot of sense. So I mentioned a moment ago also the ability to transfer skills, and we want to make sure that regardless of anybody's career path or anybody's transition, that they're able to make the most of the learning that occurred prior to enrolling in whatever college or university program. And like our friend the Scarecrow, he amassed all sorts of learning, but what he didn't have was a diploma. And so using prior learning assessment is another important area to make that happen. And what we've found is that students who enter into a post-secondary experience with some sort of prior learning complete and graduate at 2.5 times the rate as compared with those who come in without leveraging prior learning. So there's a lot of learning that has occurred in your communities. Maybe it's not on a college transcript yet, but it does correlate with better educational outcomes, and when we're talking about increasing degree levels, find that this is a very important tool. Not only is there positive impact on attainment and persistence, but also on cost, right? So individuals who earns 15 credits through prior learning assessment can save anywhere from $1,600 to $16,000 on their overall tuition costs. and certainly some portion of that would be public costs saved as well by virtue of students not needing to take out grants and loans and that type of thing. So prior learning assessment is really an important way to save time and money and increase outcomes of degree attainment. Wanted to talk really quickly about learningcounts.org, and this is a veteran story that we've got. And so an individual that we worked with through our online prior learning assessment center, learningcounts.org, was able to earn credits for 8 courses towards their degree, and by building that portfolio that documented their learning that occurred while in the service, they were able to demonstrate attainment of learning outcomes as aligned with particular courses. They didn't have to then take those courses. They could move forward on that degree path more efficiently and more rapidly. So next slide, please. And certainly among the veterans population, we find quite a few of them with some college and no degree, more than the general population. And so that is certainly something to be built on, whether it's through prior learning assessment or other kinds of engagement strategies, making sure that we're leveraging the learning that's occurred prior to enrolling in the college. Also wanted to share with you some opportunities to do what we're calling workshops. This is essentially professional development opportunities in your communities, and these are very broad categories, whether it's career and education advising, focusing on prior learning assessment, behavioral issues, faculty development, and what's called our Returning to Learning workshop, which works directly with individuals who have been working for a while, find themselves needing to go back to school, but it's been a long time since they've been in school and they probably didn't enjoy themselves back then. How do we reorient them to the educational experience, to being in a college setting, either for the first time or for the first time in a very long time? And these kinds of workshops, these kinds of professional development opportunities can be provided to anybody within that ecosystem, whether it's colleges and universities or economic development agencies or workforce investment system partners or others. These are ways to increase the capabilities and the skills and the knowledge of the folks within your communities who are touching the individuals who we hope to get back into the educational process and move towards degrees and diplomas and credentials more rapidly. And so we like to think of ourselves as both a think and do tank, right? So we think very hard about a lot of these issues, we study them thoroughly, and then we try and put them into practice and make it meaningful, not just in general, but in your community, making sure that we understand what's going on economically and culturally in your community to make any and all of these strategies more focused and more targeted and achieve greater outcomes for your population, for your institutions, and your partnerships. So we look forward to exploring these and other opportunities for technical assistance with you in greater detail as the weeks and months go on. My contact information is here on the screen, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joel. That was wonderful. Just as a note, Joel and his colleague Amy Sherman will both be at the convening December 3rd and 4th here in Indy, so you'll get plenty of opportunities to chat more intensely with both of them. And I can say personally, they're both wonderful, wonderful people who are a lot of fun to talk to, in addition to being very knowledgeable about all of this stuff. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to listen. Thank you very much, Joel, for working with us to reschedule this after our difficulties last week. And take care, okay? Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks all.
All right, bye-bye.